All right, so today I have someone with me who I believe not only has an amazing product, but also an amazing story. And in many ways, his story is similar to mine because it was through a real low point and a struggle that he was able to kind of redefine his purpose. He is the co-founder of Gray Matter, and he has created natural supplements that provide energy, mental clarity, and a lot more. I want to dig into that, but just as importantly, I also want to talk about the story of how he got there and how that journey now drives him to help others in his own business. Welcome to the Maley Way podcast, Jim Phillips. If you do not mind, I'm going to start by sharing a quick story, and it's about the first time I had coffee, and then I want to compare it to the first time I had your product.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Great.
All right, so I was 27. I was coaching in an inner city, and I was just exhausted. And I had never drank coffee before. I was just kind of like anti it. I was like, I'm not going to do that. And I don't know, my wife convinced me. She's like, just have coffee before you go to school. So I go to school, and I'm like, oh my God. Like I was playing basketball with my students, and I was like D'ing up. Like I was like making every shot. And I remember this one moment, I drove baseline. This was my worst class I've ever had, like just the worst. But I drove baseline, and like this one kid went to try to stop me who like I kind of didn't have that good of a relationship. And I went up and like I hammered a dunk on him. And the whole class started going absolutely berserk. And like it was before like the text message stuff, before social media, but like word was spread around the school. Like by the next period, like kids were like ditching class to come down and ask me about it. So like that was my first experience with coffee, and from that moment, I was like, all right, I'm taking this from now on. But like as it went on, I kept having to take more and more and drink more and more, and like I felt like it was more physical for me. Like that's the physical side that I got out of it, and it was great, but I don't necessarily think that it's the answer for me. So. I heard about your product, and I took it the other day, right before we did the Ronnie Fields podcast, and I took it, and, I wanted it to work, but I was like, I don't know, I'm meeting with him on Monday. If it doesn't work, I'm not going to, like, lie and say it does. So I take it before the Fields podcast, and you say it, but, like, I did feel it within, like, the first 15, 20 minutes. Like, I felt something, but then that was like the minor point. Like that gave me that boost of energy, but then I think you'd call it the flow state. And I felt that when I was doing the podcast with him, like I just felt like I was on, like mentally, like I was like locked in. Words were coming out pretty well. Like I was formulating my sentences. Not that I don't do that normally, but I just felt good. And, I know that's kind of like, I feel like that's a pretty good plug for what you do. Like I just felt like the mental clarity is the thing. And we'll talk about it more, but that's the thing that, goes when I'm depressed. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I want to talk about like how you got to that point where you've been able to create this. Like or even before that, like what did you do before you did Gray Matter?
Yeah. Well, I've always been an entrepreneur in startups. It's been about 17 years and 7 companies.
Yeah.
And my first time I was VC backed, I was very young.
Yeah.
And that's venture capital. They gave me some money to start a company.
I'm just a gym teacher. So I didn't know that one, but I'm glad you explained it.
Basically, somebody believed in an idea that myself and my co-founders had, and gave us some money.
Yeah.
And I was really young. I was in over my head, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And to try to compensate for that, I took a lot of Adderall and drank too many coffees, thinking that would be the answer to get me ahead. And maybe it worked for a little bit, but ultimately I think it kind of had the opposite effect. And I ended up getting more anxiety and having less ability to focus, and I just wasn't very good. And it got to a point where, I had all this pressure on me to succeed, and I started thinking, there's got to be a better way than this. And what I did was just kind of dive into the neuroscience of why I was feeling the way that I was, and started kind of studying the brain. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, but mainly, first off, that neuroplasticity exists, and that's essentially just meaning that you can change your brain. In a similar way that you could make your muscle build bigger, you can alter your brain in a positive state format. Now, there's a lot of complexity to that, but one of the first things I did was read a book called The Happiness Hypothesis. It's by Jonathan Haidt, and he basically is a professor and author, and he goes through kind of his own story around depression and his mood and his mental state, and he tries kind of everything that's out there. He ends up kind of mixing pharmacology and antidepressant drugs like Prozac with meditation. And he kind of arrives at the end of the book, on this long story short, that meditation is one of the only things that can change the physiology of your brain. Kind of like more of like a long-term fix as compared to maybe a short-term Band-Aid of a pill or whatnot. And that was just really intriguing to me. And so I started to meditate and teach myself how to meditate. And it was incredibly impactful. And in addition to that, I learned about nootropics and adaptogens, these specific substances that can alter your cognition in a really positive manner. In the beginning, I was taking them for anti-anxiety, and there's many things that you can take that'll have like a calming effect. But ultimately, got into kind of creating longer periods of focus so that I could work better and do better at my job that was high pressure. And it just seemed kind of like I discovered something that nobody else knew about. At least a lot of people didn't know about. Because I would talk to my friends and colleagues and family about these nootropics that I was taking, and no one knew what they were.
I've never heard of that word until legit I'm a health teacher, and I've never but I've never heard of that until I saw you talk about it.
Yeah, and essentially what they are just plants or natural substances that have a effect on your cognition. You talked about coffee. Coffee is essentially a nootropic. It increases the caffeine in it, increases the dopamine in your mind, and that has a functional change on your cognition. Now, there's all these other things that are somewhat similar, but just a lot less known. And things like alpha GPC or phosphatidylserine or L-tyrosine. I could kind of go down the list, but I started experimenting with them, and they worked really, really great for me. And then when I would talk about it, nobody knew what they were, and it just seemed kind of odd to me that these things that were so impactful to me with very little downside, no one else knew about, and I just knew from that point that there was an opportunity to help increase the awareness of plant-based cognitive supplementation. So I didn't do anything with it at the time, just kind of continued on my journey. But fast forward in my career, the company previous to Gray Matter is a company called Charm.io. I helped start that company. It's essentially a database of every direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand in the world, like every Shopify-style store. Those are just websites on the internet. And I did all the go-to-market for it, and we ranked every brand in the world. So I could tell you the fastest-growing brand in any category, and I kind of felt like I had this unfair advantage of data, because I could tell you where the opportunities were and what the commonalities were for the best brands, and it made me want to start my own brand. And so I went back to this idea that I've had for so long that we could help a lot of people with a really good plant-based cognitive supplement. So I started working on it, and
so this is while you were still so it's like a side thing that you were doing.
This was totally a side thing, and began and was that for actually a couple of years, because we built Charm up and we sold it to a company in New York. That company that was in 2022. That company kept me on to run the company for them because they had this portfolio of many companies. And I was really excited about that. I had no intention of leaving. We finally got some real venture money behind Charm, and I was leading it, and there was a ton of opportunity. And Gray Matter was just kind of like a side project. But we formulated this really good blend of nootropics and adaptogens that help strengthen your cognition and turn you on, like you said. And we did it with a PhD molecular biologist. She's actually been studying the way the brain works for 20 years and whatnot. And, it was operating on the side, and we went to market with it, and it was on our website, and
Yeah.
people were buying it here and there, but it was not my full-time thing. But
Yeah.
that's kind of how it all started.
How did you get connected with the molecular? I was
actually,
wondering that.
I actually met her. My co-founder met her at Soho House, just randomly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I was listening to her talk. I was like, wow, that's pretty. Because where's she from? She's from Switzerland.
Yes.
Okay.
And
yeah.
so unfortunately, she moved to Switzerland. She used to teach at Loyola, moved to
Okay.
Switzerland to take a new job, and that new school doesn't let her do anything commercially.
Okay.
So we don't really like work together anymore. But she was impactful in the beginning.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. So, I know you're talking about energy, like having energy and focus, and like, did you deal? And I know your product talks about helping people with ADHD. Did you deal with that personally, like growing up, or is that just that you found that it helps with people who have that?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
We've definitely found that lots of people with ADHD do quite well with it, and it's
Yeah.
been a very good kind of like wedge into, cognitive supplement market for us. For myself, ADHD is interesting because it's not a like diagnostic test. It's kind of up to interpretation by a psychologist.
Yeah.
You just answer a bunch of questions, and they tell you if you are or you aren't.
Yeah. Right.
And in reality, I don't think that humans are designed to sit in a chair all day, and some of the kind of upbringing that we have lends itself to people thinking that their child or themselves might have a focus problem.
Yeah. Right.
When really they're just doing something that they're not that interested in.
Yeah.
So I would say that I've never gotten diagnosed with it, but I definitely had my own struggles with focusing on things that maybe weren't that much
Yeah.
of interest.
Right.
When you're a business owner, you have to do so many things.
Yeah.
Not all of them are all that glamorous.
Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah,
gotta
so
follow
I mean,
through
it
those.
obviously helps having that. And like we'll get into the product a little later but I have felt like, and again, I've only been doing it for 4 days, but like it is clear, like
Yeah.
it's a clear difference. And
It's because there's science behind it. Like it's
Yeah.
literally increasing transmitters and neurotransmitters in your brain
yeah,
that help you have a clear mind.
yeah. I was trying to
So it
sell
works.
it to people at work too. I was like, I'm telling you guys, this is awesome. So it was started out as a side project,
Mm-hmm.
and then how did it get? I know you talked about going all in with it. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
This is the part that I think is very interesting.
Yeah, so it has to do with having a health issue that kind of came out of nowhere for me. But in 2023, in August, I started getting sick. I had this like mystery illness. I had fatigue, I had night sweats, I had fever constantly, right? And I just kept progressively getting worse, and no doctor could figure out what was wrong with me. And it lasted for 72 days, just over and over and over again. I would go into, a cancer doctor, the ER, an infectious disease doctor. They all couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And I literally got to a point where I thought I was going to die. And I ultimately got a blind spot in my right eye. This is how I figured out what was wrong with me. And, at that point I'm thinking, what else is going on with
You
me?
thought it was something else.
Just like,
yeah,
how could this get any worse?
Yeah.
And I went to a retina specialist, and he took 1 million photos of my eye, and essentially, was looking at the screen, looking at me, and he goes, I think that you have something called endocarditis. And I go, what's that?
Yeah.
And he goes, it's a infection in your heart. And then he says, but if you had that, you'd be way more messed up. And I'm like, dude, trust me, I am in terrible shape right now. And I was
Yeah.
actually just really happy in that moment, because it was the first time I had any sort of clue that, I had an answer to what was wrong with me.
Yeah.
And he was right. I had this infection in my heart that I still don't know how I got, but my aortic valve was infected with a bacteria called endocarditis. And, or that's not the bacteria, but that's what the disease is called. And it was attacking my aortic valve for so long that it essentially destroyed it. So by the time I got into the hospital and they knew what it was, they told me that I had to have open heart surgery to save my life.
Oh my God.
So
That'll change some things.
yeah, it was crazy. And I was an athlete like yourself, and I never had any heart issues,
Yeah.
So it's not like it was a lifestyle thing. I was just very unlucky.
Yeah.
and I had to have literally open heart surgery, and they cracked open my chest and put a new aortic valve in my heart, and so now it's in my heart right now, beating.
Is it like, so is after surgery, are you like good, or is it something that you always have to get checked on?
I'm actually better than I was in some ways, because I did have a bicuspid aortic valve that I was born with. That means that I had 2 flaps in my aortic valve instead of 3.
Yeah.
I didn't really notice it. Played D1 basketball, didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
But this new valve works 100%, where that old one that I had just gotten used to, that I didn't know any better, didn't work as well. So like my kind of cardiovascular stamina has always been good. I was never good at running long distances.
Me neither.
Yes.
Thatcher was right over.
Yes.
Sorry, I know. Thatcher will tell you, like, I used to throw up every single day at practice. Like,
and I never knew.
Couldn't do it.
I never knew why. Like I was like always the best athlete, but I wasn't good at, and I think that's why. Anyway, I have like a fully functioning heart now, so in some ways it is better. So yeah, I'm totally.
So in some ways, it's like, I think baseball players, they all want to get, I think, the Tommy John because it gets you better than you were. So in some ways, you're saying now you're more healthy because okay. Well, so how did that change your perspective though?
So the reason I tell that story is because it was very existential. Like I literally almost died, and I just remember thinking when I got back to my house after all that, after like weeks and weeks of it, and just sitting there like, holy shit, like, that was crazy. Yeah. And it just felt so like odd to go back to my normal job and like just this jump back on the same Zoom calls. Yeah. It just didn't feel right. It felt like there had to be some reason that this happened. And ironically, while this was all taking place, we had like just previously figured out who Gray Matter's customer was, like how to speak to them, started focusing on ADHD. We launched subscriptions. We made tweaks to the formula, and we started getting reviews that just continuously came that were really, really astonishing. People telling us that our product was changing their life. Yeah. Like repeatedly. And
that's got to make you just feel good too. Like beyond like the business side, there's value in that, I think, too, for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's really the reason that we're doing it. Yeah. And like I mean that to my core. Yeah. But like that motivation is what convinced me, like, okay, this is what I should be doing. Like I should be going all in on this. And the business wasn't at a point where it could sustain my life. Yeah. But I just had so much conviction in what I was seeing and hearing from feedback in the market, and that I just wanted to do something bigger with my life. Yeah. That I just went all for it. And so all of last year, I just spent all my savings kind of making this a thing. And thankfully, I was right, and it worked, and we are helping a lot of people. But it's kind of this ironic story of something like quote unquote bad happening to me, leading me to more purpose.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like my thing, where I was in a deep, dark state of depression. Like I had to be hospitalized, suicidal ideations, and I got out of it, and it was almost like, it created like a new sense of purpose for me. Like, all right, I'm out of it. How can I help other people who are experiencing something else? And then, like, as you continue to do it, as I'm sure, you're hearing these reviews about, hey, this did this, and this for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I was hearing the same thing, like, hey, this really helped me, or this saved my life, or this blah, blah, blah. You talking about it. And it was like that renewed sense of purpose, and it gave me, like, energy to, like, keep going. And I don't know where this whole thing is going to lead for me, mm-hmm. But it's almost like I look back at all that stuff, I'm like, I'm glad it happened. Yeah. Like, I was not glad it happened at the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you weren't glad that it happened at the time. But do you have that perspective now where you like reframe it like I'm almost glad it happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's many points in my life, and I'm sure many people's others, yours included, it sounds, that things that are a struggle end up being, really defining and great teachers, and end up leading you to something that is maybe more of a right path for you. So I absolutely believe that. I can kind of like connect the dots backwards on a lot of things in my life. Yeah. And this is definitely one of them where I never would have thought that this is what it would have led to. Yeah. But if you kind of keep a open mind, kind of, embrace what's happening to you, even if it's hard.
Yeah.
Know that, there might be something on the other end of this that could be helpful. And there usually is. You just kind of get there.
Yeah. No, and it reminded me, 'cause this is a weird analogy, but when I was I gave a speech at my wedding, and I wanted to talk about my mother-in-law. And like for some reason, I was racking my brain, like, I gotta find something bad I could say about it. And like, I couldn't think of it. And so like, I was kind of looking at your thing, and I'm looking through these reviews. I'm like, all right, come on, I gotta find something, something. And I couldn't really find anything. Like, have you had many, like?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, the vast majority of reviews are amazing.
Yeah.
And it's incredible and like really humbling to be able to have a product that gets reviewed like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some people who like it doesn't have as big of an effect on or whatnot. And typically those people are like very heavy caffeine drinkers.
Yeah.
And it does feel similar to an Adderall, but it's not as powerful. Like an Adderall is super powerful, right? And so if you're kind of expecting that same like hit you over the head impact, it doesn't really do that. It's a lot more subtle. So there's some people it's not for, but I think as you can tell by the reviews, the vast majority definitely do well with it.
Well, and I know we talked about it, but I'm thinking of it. I know it's for ADHD, anxiety, but I'm thinking of it from my perspective, like from the depression side. And it's like, one of the things is like, I'm thinking like, how can I incorporate this like self-care wise? Because the thing for me, depression for me is mental clarity. It makes me like not be able to think, makes me not be able to make decisions, makes me not be able to think clearly, logically, rationally.
I feel like stuck.
Yeah. And that causes like the sadness and like this is the end of the world. And I'm thinking like, I'm always thinking, how can I prevent that from happening?
Yeah.
And like what I've noticed in your product is the mental clarity aspect. So I'm like, could this be, and I know there's a lot of other people out there like me who suffer from depression who, and it's nuanced. It's for some people it's different, but for a lot of people it is that. And I'm wondering like, is this product something that could prevent that? Now, I don't think it's gonna, if I'm in a deep state on the couch underneath the blanket, I don't think it's necessarily gonna get me out of that, but could it prevent me from getting there? And I'm like thinking like, I don't know. I could see it. it. I mean, obviously, I need more time using it. But have you had anybody else mention that aspect?
We do. So what's really interesting about our customer base is that it's very broad.
Yeah.
We do work well with ADHD, but there are people in their 70s that are writing into us telling us that it's helping them with cognitive decline and their memory. And in numerous reviews, people have said that it's boosted their mood and had them feel like themselves again.
Yeah.
Like, for each person, it's going to be kind of custom what that means. And, from a kind of neuroscience standpoint around the brain chemistry that might cause depression, if there's something in our product that would help it, is kind of like individualistic to each person, right? And like what's going on in their mind. But how you should think about us and our kind of thesis of the company is that everyone should be supplementing their mind.
Right, yeah.
Right? And the reason and like the why behind why you might do that is going to be unique to each person. But to me, I think everyone should be supplementing their mind the same way that they do their body, right? You can grow your muscles, you could run faster, and you could pay attention to the quality of your mind, and the quality of your mind dictates the quality of your life. Yeah. And I think as a society we don't give enough kind of credit and onus on that, and you can work towards having a kind of healthier, more consistently kind of happy mind and like a better functioning mind. And so we just want to show up as a kind of tool to help you do that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that. And like even like when I was in a bad place, this was 6 years ago, and they were talking. I was in the hospital, and I've told this story before, but they were talking about like how the link between dehydration and depression. And I was like, oh my God, like I never drank water. Like I grew up, we were milk drinkers, but I never drank water. Even in sports, you were like considered a wuss if like you went and got water. So I just didn't do it. And like I've started to do, like I guess that is supplementing for me,
Yeah.
drinking water.
It's true.
And that's been huge for my mind, and I feel like your product could have that impact as well. And I guess for me, the other question that I wanted to ask, or I guess the other thing that I wanted to say was, I'm in the hospital. They decide they're going to put me on a medication that worked for my mother. And I'm in this low, dark, horrible place, but the side effect is like it destroys your kidneys, or it can destroy your kidneys.
Yeah.
And it destroyed my mom's kidneys. But like I'm looking at it at that time, and it's like, well, I guess I'll choose to live 15 less years if it means never like thinking about leaving my wife and kids again. Like to me, that's worth it.
Yeah.
But I would like not to. I would like not to live 15 less years. So I'm always trying to find different things of how maybe I can get off of that. It works. Don't get me wrong. It works. But like the physical drawbacks, like it kind of haunts me a little bit. Like, is that gonna what can I find something else? And I guess I'm kind of talking to myself here, but I'm kind of thinking like this again could be a preventative thing.
Yeah.
Along with other stuff.
Yeah.
Like meditation and things like that can be very beneficial to that.
Yeah, and like we just want to help increase the awareness that this is possible.
Yeah.
Right? And then if it does end up being something that could be helpful for kind of a situation that you're describing, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And the kind of the reason that it would be helpful without side effects is because it's all plants.
Right.
It's plants and natural substances, and there's nothing artificial in it, and there's no sugar in it, right? And we just are helping increase the awareness that this is an option.
Yeah.
Right. And I really hope that we continue to find more ways that it's helping people. Because it is more than ADHD. Like I said, it's cognitive decline. We've had people tell us that it's helped them with menopause.
Yeah,
I
really?
never would have thought that, and I think what's happening is that, there's just many brains out there that are kind of starving for more nutrients and more neurotransmitters and, and better cognitive function. And so if you just kind of give that to them, it works.
Yeah. So I guess I was going to ask you some questions. Like it might be a little putting you on the spot a little bit. So, side effects.
Yeah.
Has there been any side effects negatively?
No. There's a lot of ingredients in it.
Yeah.
So it could sometimes cause some stomach discomfort if you maybe aren't used to it or drink too much. We tell everybody to start slow with it, start with a single dose, half scoop of it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't follow the directions.
Yeah, right.
But
I'll admit I kind of doubled that after, but no. But I didn't have any problems with it. Yeah.
So everything that is in it has been studied by hundreds of peer-reviewed research papers.
Yeah.
And scientists, neurobiologists, and there's well documented research on the cause and effect and the mechanism of action of everything in it. And all we're doing really is taking those things and putting them together.
Yeah.
So there's this synergistic effect of it, which is kind of why you feel the way that you do. But yeah, no, there are not any sort of negative side effects. And again, it's just because it's natural in plants.
Yeah. And I think I asked you this before. Is this something that you think, I hate to say this, but is this something that you think drug companies don't want people to know about?
Yeah. Well, I think that most all drugs come from some sort of plant.
Yeah.
And they just are flipped into the pharmacology world so that they can put a patent on them.
Yeah, right.
Right? And so, creating things that aren't patented to, gouge your pocketbook and just having it be plants, it's something that humans have been doing for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just we've kind of gotten off track with it. And
Yeah.
I think that we're now starting to, hopefully, and a bit more of a broad kind of movement, get back to more natural ways of kind of medicating ourselves.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing, do people build up a tolerance over time? I drink 4 cups of, well, now that I've been using your product, I've cut it down to 1.5, but I normally just go through coffee.
Yeah.
do people build up a tolerance over time where you
Yeah.
aren't getting those effects?
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. If you kind of overdo it, you can build up a tolerance. On our directions, we actually call this out and say, take it for 5 days on and take a day or 2 off.
Yeah, I noticed. Okay, so what?
yeah.
That's the reason for that? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It gives your brain a bit of a break. And if you drink a bunch of coffee every day or kind of overindulge in anything,
Yeah.
it has a negative effect.
Yeah.
And so you got to have some moderation.
Gotcha. Other question with regards to, like, let's say I go on vacation, and if I go on, or if I forget to drink coffee, like, I have a horrible headache. I feel just awful. And then I do have that brain fog. Let's say I go on vacation and I forget your product. Is that gonna happen? Is that gonna happen where you will kind of have those headaches and forget?
Really, it's just science and doesn't necessarily have too much to do with the product. So
Okay.
the reason that you'll have a headache when you don't drink coffee is because your coffee is missing your brain is missing the caffeine.
Yeah.
Right. And so in a similar way, it kind of doesn't matter exactly what it is. If you're used to something and kind of rely on it in that way, you're going to feel different. Right?
Yeah. Gotcha.
We do have people tell us like, oh, I didn't take it for a week, or I was on a vacation, like you're saying, and like I missed it.
Yeah.
I just missed the way that it made me feel. And it's because it's increasing these different neurotransmitters in your mind to make you feel better, boost your mood. And there's also this adaptogen blend that is in there that helps reduce your stress hormone cortisol.
Yeah.
So you just feel better and get kind of more into a calm, focused state. So yeah, I mean, you might miss it.
Yeah, right. You probably want me to miss it. So, well, because you were generous to send it to me, but like, what does it cost you? What does it run you?
Yeah. Vast majority of our customers are subscribers, and we give you 50% off to start, just because we want people to be able to try it. That's $34, and then the ongoing cost is right around $49.
Okay.
And actually, if you stay subscribed, it'll get down to $44. So we give like this benefit to people who stay subscribed. The per dose is like $1.30, something like that.
Yeah.
So if you're comparing it to coffee, it's more economical.
Yeah. The other thing, what was I gonna? There's one more thing I wanted to ask you specifically about that. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember it. Well, what are some other questions, I guess, that you sometimes get about it? Is there anything other questions that you get about it?
Just a lot of the ingredients we get asked about. People are a lot more aware about the specific ingredients that they're putting in their body. So, we get asked what the sugar is, or like what the sweetener is. We actually use this sweetener called thaumatin, which is kind of a newer one on the like food scene, but it comes from an African plant called the katamfe plant.
Okay.
And thaumatin is a protein that is just very, very high in a sweetness content.
Yeah.
So you can actually use very little of it and have a really positive effect on the flavor and the taste. And there's 0 calories in it, so that's one.
Yeah.
Don't use any artificial dyes or colorings or anything like that. And yeah, I mean, I can kind of go through the ingredients and why they work, if that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
So it's really, the difference is that there's a lot more ingredients than many other competitors. So we aren't the first kind of cognitive supplement on the market, right?
Yeah.
We're just one that you can feel quickly. And that's what we set out to make, because I could kind of get that effect I was looking for when I stacked things myself. But when I would take something that was already made on the market, I just wouldn't have that same effect. So when we made this, we wanted to kind of give you all of the right and positively impactful ingredients all together. So it's a combination of 4 different blends. There's a nootropic blend. Essentially what that's doing is increasing 2 neurotransmitters, dopamine and acetylcholine. Dopamine is kind of like a happiness molecule, a motivation molecule that you need. Acetylcholine actually increases the synapse connections in your brain, and that's just how the different parts of your brain talk to each other and helps form, ideas and memories and whatnot. So that's a big kind of portion of it. There's actually a vasodilator in there as well that helps the blood flow to your brain, and that's going to help delivers the nutrients all around your body. There's the adaptogen blend. These are rhodiola, cordyceps, ashwagandha, lion's mane, these different mushrooms. They help in a lot of ways, but one of the main ways that they help is reduce your cortisol levels. That's your stress hormone. So gets you more into kind of a flow state and helps your mood. And then our energy, because there is caffeine in it, but it's more of like a time-release caffeine because it comes from matcha and guarana. Matcha has this compound called L-theanine that is naturally occurring in it. It's an amino acid. It binds to the caffeine in matcha, and it makes it so that it takes longer for your body to break it down. So it's more of like a slow released, into your bloodstream, and it's just kind of smoother. Yeah. It also increases alpha brain waves in your mind. It's a pretty wild molecule, but L-theanine is part of matcha. That's why you kind of feel a calm alertness. And guarana is somewhat similar. It has something called tannins that connect to the caffeine, and that helps slow the breakdown of it. So when you drink a coffee or an energy drink, there's like this quick jolt. With ours, it's more of like a smooth uplift that lasts.
And you said calm alertness. So it almost like, this might be, I don't want to build this up but like it was almost like when I was taking it, you ever been like playing basketball just absolutely on fire? In the zone? Yeah. I felt like it was like a little version of that, like that calm, like just, but you were totally locked in. Yeah. I kind of feel that with it.
I miss that about basketball and sports, is that like you can get into this flow state where you're not really thinking, you're just like letting yourself do it, right? And it just feels incredible. And you can get into states like that when you're working, especially if you're doing something creative. I think that we're all kind of meant to be doing things that are creative. And any creative person or creative kind of profession person knows that you get into a flow state and you're just going. And the ingredients in this product help you kind of get there. It's not like an automatic induction into it, but it's kind of like a precursor.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then here's the thing that I like the most about it. Besides all that stuff was good, but I was exhausted when I needed to be exhausted. Like at the end of the night, when instead of like maybe not being able to sleep, I have been able to fall asleep immediately. Like I'm able to be tired when I need to be tired. Yep. As people said that before too. Like sometimes coffee will keep me up, especially if I take it later in the day, where this I've taken it later in the day and it did not cause that for me. It caused, like I was tired at the end, which I wanted to be.
It's a different type of caffeine. There's less caffeine than a coffee, and then there's these other ingredients in it as well that help kind of supplement your mind. So it's just not the same as drinking 3-4 cups of coffee.
So like the thing that I like about what you're doing is you have like that story behind it. Like, and I think that's important, but it's also like almost to me, it's the ultimate business. Because you're doing something that is helping a bunch of people in many different ways, shapes, or form. And I'm sure that, you kind of mentioned it before, but like that's got to be, obviously money is motivating, but you got the money factor and then also the, hey, I'm doing something that could be super beneficial to a ton of people. It's like the ultimate business. I guess that's probably one of the reasons why you went all in on it.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really grateful for that. Yeah. This is probably the happiest and most fulfilled I think I've probably ever been in my life. Yeah. And it's because we get messages every day about us really helping people. Yeah. And the cool part is that my success from a monetary standpoint is super aligned with helping people. If we help people, I'm going to be successful. If we don't, I'm not. Yeah. Right? And that's the kind of key here, is that the product has to actually work. Yeah, right. And it does, right? And we see that in reviews. We see that in our customer retention. People just keep coming back and buying it. And so if we just focus on that, I tell this to my team all the time, it's like, if we focus on helping people, everything else is going to take care of itself. Yeah.
Now, this is like a side thing, but do you feel that, like just talking about it now and talking about the success that you've had, talking about all this, does that make you feel good? Like, is this part of like something that helps you in a way as well? Yeah. I've found that with all my stuff. Like when I talk, I'm trying to help others, but it helps me too. And I think I'm assuming you feel that same way with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I could talk about this all day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you were going through all that stuff, and I was like, "Oh my God, I don't know what he's talking
Yeah,
about with
right.
all these molecules."
Yeah.
And but it's like it's cool that you could tell the passion that you have behind it. Like it shines through, obviously. So I think people are much more likely to buy in
Yeah.
to what you're selling. You know what I mean? And because you can tell you are into it and passionate about it, and it seems like you truly do care about like
Yeah.
helping others, which is it shines through. So that's I think a good. Hopefully it shines. I think it'll shine through on the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess the last thing. Well, I guess what else do you want to? Do you want to talk about anything else related to your product? I wanted to give you a chance to like plug where people can find you, and things like that.
I mean, you could we only sell it on our website, so
Okay.
it's trygraymatter.com. You can purchase it one time. You can purchase it on subscription. You know, and we hope you really like it if you try it. Like I said before, it does get consumed by people for many different reasons. We had a guy that's taking it for concussions that is really having a lot of benefits from it, and you can kind of just think of it like a AG1, but for the brain, like a green drink for your brain. And we believe that everybody should be supplementing their mind, and so kind of no matter what it is that you're doing, we likely could help you.
Yeah. So this actually intrigues me with the concussion thing, because that was when my first issue with depression. I had a severe concussion my senior year of high school, and like I just kept playing.
Yeah.
And like it wasn't until years later when I found like how bad that could be. You know, we all know about CTE, but like some people don't know, like if you don't give your brain a chance to rest, it can cause like really bad depression. Like that's kind of what I had. So like your product in helping with concussions, like does it just help in recovery? Like are you saying it helps in recovery or getting people back? Or?
Yeah, I mean honestly, it's a anecdotal story.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what it did to the chemistry of his brain, but he was actually a head coach at Clemson University.
Okay. Yeah.
And he got in this really bad car accident, and he wrote in and he told us, and he said, you know, I've tried everything to try to get my mind back to what it was and get, you know, the brain fog to kind of lift, and I tried everything and I couldn't find it, and then I found your product and I feel like myself again.
Yeah.
And you know, that's just incredible to hear.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you know, what is going on in his mind.
Yeah.
But if I had to guess, is he was missing some of these kind of specific brain food type of neurotransmitters that would be helping him.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of helped him get back on his feet.
Yeah. All right, well, do you have any where people can see what you do? I know you have your Instagram. Like you wanna...
There's some YouTubes, Instagram. You know, our website is really, really informational. So if you want to go and read about what each ingredient does, there's a whole page on it. We've got a blog where we pump on a ton of content on this. And we just raised some money. We just got $1.3 million in venture capital.
That's good.
And you know, I got to build out my team. All of last year, it was basically me, my co-founder had a full-time job. I was blowing through all my money.
Yeah.
So to get to this point where like people believe in us and we're helping thousands of people and we have some kind of firepower to make it right and real, it's exciting. So we're building out our team. You're going to see more content from us. Kind of the engine behind the modern brand today is content. So we'll be doing a lot more of these and you know, really kind of improving the way that we can speak and educate and how our product's going to help people.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I know, before we go, I know the last question that I was going to ask you, because we'll have young people listening, because I'm a teacher, so I know that there are some students that listen to it. And I know, is it safe for young people? Like, what's the...
You know, it's a great question. It's designed for adults, and we are pretty kind of careful about what we can say about kids. Yeah. Now, personally, if you compare what the options are for a kid, I would say that this is maybe better, but it does have caffeine. That is somewhat taboo, right, for a kid to take. But, again,
but those kids are drinking.
I don't know, are they?
Oh my God! Okay. Every kid shows up with a coffee.
All right, if they're drinking coffee, if they're drinking coffee, they can drink this. But I really feel and sympathize with parents because they feel stuck. Yeah. You know, they don't have another option that they can give their kid, and you know, their doctors saying that their kid has this problem and they need to be medicated on an amphetamine.
Yeah.
You know, we have people write in and ask us if they can give it to a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And it just makes my head explode.
Yeah.
That's crazy to
Yeah.
me. And so I would love to get to a point where we can confidently say, you know, this is for kids and try to help, you know, kids have another option. You know, we're not there yet, and it's probably because we got to be really careful about it.
Right.
But, you know, we do have reports of teenagers, you know, doing well on it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, no, I just wanted to thank you
Yeah.
for coming out. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
That was very educational. Like I haven't, you know, like I said, I didn't know anything about a lot of what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And, you know, I kind of wanted to try it, and I can tell you it does really help. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I know it could help a ton of people. So
Yeah.
I wish you the best of luck on what you're doing. I think, you know, good things are going to happen.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thanks for having me on. And thanks for telling your story, because I think that's important too.
Yeah, no, thank you. I
appreciate it.
Yeah, hopefully your story can help me stay away from my past. So, well, yeah, no, I just wanted to thank Jim again for coming in. As I always talk about, like sharing your story, I do that, and hopefully Jim does that. You do that to help others, but by doing so, you also end up helping yourself, because that's the Maley way. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. That was good.